Hi, I'm Jennifer Branch. One of you asked how I use masking. So here's how I use it, when I use it, and a few other options. Let's paint. I use Incredible White Mask. It has the least chance of damaging sensitive papers like Twin Rocker. I used to use a lot more masking. Now I don't use quite as much because the higher grade papers with more sizing don't need it. I use the eraser of a simple number 2 pencil to do it, and it pulls right off when it's done. I wanted to show you the contrast to the wax. Let it dry completely. It will ruin your brush if you don't let it dry completely. That's the number one tip with masking. And don't try to pull it off before it's completely dry. Okay, so don't just use masking on white paper. Use it on a paper you've done some washes on. So I've let it dry completely. Again, it will ruin your brush. It will ruin your paper. You really need to be careful about that. So let it dry. Let this dry again. Now I'll use a white eraser, just a plain white, once white, artist eraser, or just my fingers for larger pieces. And there's the white paper, the wax is in the middle, and then the already on the previous wash, and you can see it makes a big difference. This is a technique that you can use a lot. So now you know how you use masking and how it contrasts with wax. So that's how to use masking. Let's look at when we use it. So this is a big flower garden painting using Incredible White Mask again. Not sold on any particular brand. This one just seems to do the least amount of damage. Once again, I'm using a pencil. So the pencil eraser is the best tool for the job. A brush gunks up too quickly and loses its point almost immediately. The little things that they sell for doing it, it's silly, but you have a number 2 pencil and you should never ever use that eraser on watercolor paper for anything but masking. So easy to clean, nice sharp edge. So I'm just drawing little things. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. It's a flower garden looking past, so splatter paint, have some fun. You want lots of random whites in there, and don't forget where you're using them. I'm going to use the wax crayon again so you can see the contrast. Now, once again, let this dry completely. I don't want to hear anything about someone's painting or beautiful brush getting damaged. Let it dry. All right, so I can just slap it on. Masking is terrific for beginners because if you're a little nervous about reserving whites, it's perfect. You don't have to worry about the whites. You can just let loose and go all over the place. As long as you've let it dry in between, you can have fun with it. Now, I'm dropping in Viridian in this one. Let this dry. And now I'm going over for my second layer of masking on top of color. So the real reason I don't use masking as often as I used to is the paper. I'm using the Twin Rocker paper and it does not do as well with masking. And this is a Arches hot press, by the way. And also it takes a long time to dry. I'm just using a white eraser and pulling up the little tiny bits, and just do this slowly and carefully once it's really dried. And you can see I got some strong darks on there. It really, really makes a difference. So you have to know what it's going to look like when all that yellow or blue or pink masking is off, depending on the color of your brand. So that takes a little bit of a shift, but then you don't have to worry about, hey, I want to keep that highlight and be all nervous about. You can just keep going. All right, so here's the masking. Little white flower speckles, you can see the splatter. There's where I use some wax. And the one step most people forget afterwards is to continue working with the painting. And then the next is masking over the wash. And you can see I use that a lot and like the little purple verbena and stuff. People just do the masking and they have the white and they don't loosen up the edges some or work with it afterwards. Masking step, it should come off around 80% of your painting. So this is so you can get that first bold wash in and go crazy, but you haven't, by the time you've taken it all off, like it is with this painting, you have not done the entire painting. You're taking it off at about 80%. So obviously this is much sped up. So this way you know where your whites are, you have your whites, and you can soften some edges. Don't be afraid to use some gouache. White paper and the wax and masking all have very different looks. The masking is very stark, so I usually soften a couple of the edges with clean water and paint around them. You can see, just soften those edges. It only takes a couple more minutes, but it makes a big difference. Makes it not look so cut out. So just let the painting flow, and you've got the whites in, so you don't have to worry about that. I'm using a little bit of white gouache here. Pulling that in and painting out a couple of the petals, but still leaving some of the transparent paper because it makes a difference. The gouache looks very different than the regular white of the paper and very different from the wax. So, have some fun with it. Don't get rid of all your whites. Go over them, soften the edges, play with it. Splatter if you want to. And then the next tool is a razor blade. And use that carefully. Please don't cut yourself. And just pull out a couple of the highlights. And this is going to be a different look, kind of a stippled effect versus the very plain of the masking. It's more like wax, but in tiny, very controlled strokes. So using the knife is particularly effective over these strong darks. So keep that in mind. Pulling out a couple little Cleome spikes. And this is what it looks when it's done. So I hope that answered your questions about using masking. Now for the giveaway. The sketch that I did in this video, I would love for one of you to have it. So in order to win this original sketch, all you have to do is live in the continental USA. Sorry, I can only ship to the USA. And leave a comment underneath in this video saying that you'd like to win it and a little something about watercolor. That's it. So the contest is open and through the end of July. So August 1st it closes and I'll pick the winner. I wish good luck to every one of you and thank you so much for watching my videos. I'm really enjoying teaching watercolor. Happy painting. For more information on this, please visit my website at paintingwatercolor.com. Have fun.